the idea of hospice is, there's nothing about hospice that's concerted around wanting you to die. The whole idea of hospice is that you get this sort of loving care to live in a way that you would want, to live a full life, to live well until you die. We're not interested in you dying sooner than you need to, please. And there is no better way to get more services into the home, bar none. Of any of the insurance designations, hospice was the way to get the most service into your house, wherever you call home. Hi there, I'm BJ Miller. I'm a hospice and palliative medicine doc. Tonight I just want to make this little video about the fact that people wait too long to invoke hospice and why that's a problem. So we know that since the 1980s, when the hospice benefit came into play, year over year, more and more people elect hospice, such that about half the people age 65 and older who die in this country die with the benefits of hospice in place. And that's great news, generally growing year over year. And that's great news because we know hospice care is the gold standard for end-of-life care. But if you look more closely at the data, there's some concerning bits too. The average length of stay in hospice is just over 2.5 months. And the median length of stay in hospice is about 18 days, meaning that half of the people on hospice live longer than 18 days and half the people in hospice live fewer than 18 days. And a big chunk of those folks are in hospice for all of a few days. And that's a problem because they're keeping this sort of level of loving support at bay longer than they need to, i.e. they're suffering longer than they need to. I hear it time and again. It's a kind of a classic line that you'll hear patients and families say after a few days in hospice, why did I wait so long to enter hospice? Well, the reasons why you wait so long are complicated. Some of them are in your control and some of them are not. In your control is the idea that, hey, the idea is we die. We know we die. And accepting that fact is not the same thing as quitting or giving in. It's just being true to nature. There's almost a superstition that if you think about death, if you talk about death, that somehow you're courting it, that you're welcoming it, that you'll die sooner than you need to. The data doesn't bear that out. In fact, if anything, hospice doesn't shorten your life. If anything, it may even lengthen your life, which makes sense because hospice delivers a sort of loving wraparound support, a level which you can't get anywhere else as a rule. And of course, so if you're treating your pain and your other symptoms, if your family needs are being met, if there's open conversation and dialogue, then you're much more likely to be de-stressed and live in peace for the time you have left. And as we know, stress is a killer. Helping people de-stress helps extend life. So the other thing about hospice is more structural. Another reason why people wait so long is structural. So, as I mentioned earlier, hospice is an insurance designation. The Reagan years, in 1982, Congress passed the Medicare hospice benefit. And wanting to kind of put limits and parameters around this type of care, fearing that in a way that too many people would want it, they put in two stipulations. One is that doctors have to sign off that you have 6 months or less to live should your disease run its course. The other stipulation is that you have to give up curative intended treatments in order to gain the benefits of hospice. Both of these are very problematic. So for the first one, 6 months or less to live, well, doctors, we're horrible at prognosticating. We know this. We're often wrong. And Lord knows we don't want to, there should be no incentive to shorten your life. It should only be good news that you exceed your prognosis. The second point is even more problematic. In hospice we like to say that it's a problem that people think of hospice as giving up, throwing in the towel or quitting. Again, there's nothing quitting about being realistic. But the second stipulation that you have to give up certain types of care, unfortunately, plays into this fear. You do have to give up something. And it was in the 1980s, there were fewer treatments to try, and it wasn't such a big deal. The idea of giving up curative intended treatment was simply sort of a matter of fact, that there had to be sort of nothing else left for you to try. Nowadays, the list of things for you to try is extremely long and getting longer. So in some ways, the idea that you have to give up anything to go into hospice is ludicrous and doesn't make much sense. But such as the hangover of the policy choices that were made 30 years ago. But I want you to know this, even all that stuff notwithstanding, if you're in the tail end of a disease course or of a long life and death is coming, the idea of hospice is, there's nothing about hospice that's concerted around wanting you to die. The whole idea of hospice is that you get this sort of loving care to live in a way that you would want, to live a full life, to live well until you die. We're not interested in you dying sooner than you need to, please. And there is no better way to get more services into the home, bar none. Of any of the insurance designations, hospice was a way to get the most service into your house, wherever you call home. And here's some more details that I think are really, really important for you to grasp. One is that signing on to hospice, if you qualify, is very easy. And signing off of it, if you're done with hospice, if you exceed your prognosis, or if new treatments come down the pike that you want to try that might cure your disease, literally with a flick of a pen, sign one line and you are done. You are off the hospice benefit, and by law, your other insurance kicks back in. So you will have lost nothing by giving hospice a try. And the other point here is that there are efforts at play to open the hospice benefit. So to make it possible for you to get the benefits of hospice while also pursuing other kinds of treatment. So this is a work in progress. So for all these reasons, if you're at all curious about hospice, if you're suffering more than you need to, if you're done with this sort of carousel of treatments in the medical sense, or if there's nothing left for you to try, give hospice a try. Give them a call. Call your local hospice agency. Hear what they have to offer. You will lose nothing by that informational interview. And if you sign on and if you give it a try, if it doesn't feel right, you sign off. Period. End of story. So don't suffer more than you need to. Give hospice a try. That's it. That's my message for tonight. Thanks for listening.